What's going on, everybody? This your boy AJ, coming from Connect KC. We're doing the bridging the gap portion. Along to my far left, we got the homegirl Jay. What's going on with
What's
you?
going on, Kansas City?
And we're on location. We're at Serenity Funeral Home with the owner slash entrepreneur, brother Michael Adkins. How you doing today, brother?
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, man. First of all, I'd just like to extend appreciation. Thank you for opening up and giving us an opportunity to speak with you in regards to your business. I know we've had some conversation, some short conversation before, but just a couple of general questions like what's your background in funeral home services and things like that. Like what got you into this?
Well, when I was a kid, I think what really sparked my interest was around 9, 10 years old. We had 3 family members pass back to back. And, when you go to this ceremony and you trying to play with your cousins and your uncles that's normally, playing and laughing, and you go to this ceremony where there's this body there and people are crying, and I'm still trying to play with them, and my mom's like, no, this ain't the place. What is this?
Yeah.
I see these big uncles, this macho. They normally never. I shouldn't see them crying. What are we at? I mean, so that kind of had 3 deaths, and I kind of went into it, back to back, and it kind of just sparked the interest of just trying to get to know what the whole industry is about at a young age. And then after that, I went to Southeast. And, that's when they started the magnet program.
Yeah.
And so we had to do, science projects. So my science project was on the embalming process. It was just more or less a paper.
Yeah.
But it just kind of broke it down, and I got an A. And I said, hey, So the next year, I did it a little further in depth and received another A. And, just all the research you have to do. I was like, hey, I think I like this, Then going to high school, they still had the science and math magnet. Math, I can add, subtract, multiply, divide, all the other maths. It's like, why? I focused on science. And I had a counselor that saw me and my friends, and she kind of pulled me to the side. She's like, what are you going to do when you graduate? At that point, when you're in high school, you kind of at limbo. You kind of think you know what you want to do, but you're just like, I'll deal with it at the time.
Right.
But she saw favor and just pulled me and spent some time with me and said, hey, she narrowed it down. I said, a truck driver? She said, a truck driver? That's okay, but it's something else. I said, well, I like funeral service. She said, bingo. Before you know it, had a campus visit to University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I went there, like, wow, this is a college, It seemed like not too long after that, my mother was dropping me off. And I seen the car pulling away, and I'm looking around like, I'm at college.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought, when you go to college, you change your major. I went to University of Central Oklahoma just for funeral service, so I could obtain my bachelor's of science in funeral service. Ms. Brown said, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna you're gonna go into it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna learn the history, all the fundamentals. So that's what I did. I went to the University of Central Oklahoma, graduated in 1998, came back to Kansas City, and connected with one of the other local funeral homes, and thrived there for 17, almost 18 years.
Yeah. I think it's pretty awesome. First off, that you had a counselor in high school, Miss Brown.
Yeah.
That did her job. Like she
Yeah.
she was like, hey, what's it gonna be?
Right.
Like, what's it gonna be? Between that and the parental influences and things like that. Because I know for myself, I didn't have an idea what I was doing. I had the same type of answer. Okay, I figure out when I get there, but what is there? It's like we create what's there.
Right.
So you definitely followed your dreams and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, what does Serenity Memorial Chapel have to offer to Kansas City?
here at Serenity, I want it to feel more intimate, you know, definitely connected with the family. I want the personalization. I want the one-on-one. I don't want it to feel like a like warehouse operation where you do A, B, C. You know, it's not about that. Every family's different. You know, you can't follow a checklist and go down the list with this family like that family. You got to cater your services around each family, and that's just it. You know, just be engulfed in the families.
Well, I definitely saw the difference as soon as we walked in. You know, Jessica, she pointed out first, you know, as far as the different colors. You know, because the funeral homes that I've seen, you know, it's been some of the saddest music, you know, real gloomy, like real low vibration. And when you're already feeling, impartial to what's going on, the loss of a loved one. First thing I see is I'm seeing the vibrant colors. You know, we're in this conference room here, and I'm seeing the color that, you know, Jay told me is representing royalty. And I know that's not by chance. This is something that you know, being the proprietor of this, you know, this is something that was premeditated.
Right.
Yeah. So I saw that.
What I love the most is when I walked in, it's open and there's a lot of windows, so the windows allows the sunlight to come in. So the vibrations from the sun and the rays automatically lift your spirits. I'm like, oh, we at home.
And it smells good.
Right.
It smells good. It doesn't smell funerally. You know, is that a word? I don't know. Yeah.
Chemicals, and everything that you think of when you think of the death care industry, and that's just it, man. Being in it so long, you kind of move around, you go in different places, you smell different things, and you're like, nah. If I ever get a chance, it's a couple of things I won't do, you know. And Serenity, it's about peace, being calm, and that's the atmosphere that I definitely want.
Yeah.
Hence the word serenity.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we sat here, we had a chance to, go into what we call that? Would that be the
chapel?
The chapel.
Yes.
And I think that's special for the simple fact that there are some people like myself. Whenever I transition out of this body, I don't want to be in the church.
Right.
So I walked in there and I'm like, okay, it can see, the few people that I know here. And, you mentioned that you don't have to worry about the parameters of, no diss against the church, churches and things like that, but you can think outside of that. You even mentioned if it's somebody, who like to kick it.
Right.
And they got their cup of Crown Apple and whatnot.
Right.
You often hear Serenity.
That's you.
Yeah, you got the PowerPoint, like, hey, with the red cup up.
That's you.
So,
Red cup.
the double red cup. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Your 21 years. You mentioned you had 21 years in the business, and I can just. Another thing that you mentioned is you don't have to worry about this whole average of money that you have to bring in when you have to work for someone.
Right.
It seems like with every job you have to have a certain quota.
Right.
A certain amount of production to show your worth for being with that company. This is your own ship. You're running it, and customer service is your base, and it seems to be working out well for you.
Yes. Yes.
That's the main focus. You have different families coming in with different personalities and dynamics. And you're like, okay, you know what? Let me break this down for you. And,
with dealing with the different families and the personalities and the different energies and vibrations, how do you keep yourself grounded?
Hey, I have a spiritual base. So, like you say, it's different personalities. People, when dealing with the death care industry, people really are not themselves. You might see them in here one way while they're going through the process. It's 24 hours in a day. Nothing lasts forever. So, let them, if they seem snappy to you, you just have to adjust. They're going through something. And that's what I tell my staff, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. They're going through something. We only have one chance to get it right. let them, let them be snappy to us. They'll love on us later, you know, and that's what it's been. And ever since I've been in the industry, you might see them one way, you see them outside, you know, they're gonna show you mad love because you helped them during their most, you know, just their most down time in their life.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I have family, great family, and you know, just knowing that I have family too, and you know, it's just so many different dynamics that just keep me grounded. I love what I do. It's not a job to me. You know, I think if anything, my family suffered because I've given so much to my families that I serve. You know, it's just plenty of family events that I missed. You know, I'm single, no kids, so you know, so I've just given it all to my career, and you know, hopefully, you know, every family that has been pleased with me, you know, hopefully, you know, they'll remember that and keep coming back, and you know.
Not like you're looking forward to them coming back, but it's just more or less like, oh, you know what, you know, there are so many brands, there are so many signature, what we can say, funeral homes that are in Kansas City, but then there's something different.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is definitely out of the few, you know, the several funeral, you know, homes that I've been to. This definitely stands out. I'm not just saying it, you know, because I'm, you know, we sitting here, you know, talking about it, man. So I, you know.
Yeah, I love the feeling here.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. You know, I can definitely tell this isn't a job for you. Like, there's no clocking out. Like, this is something that you have the passion for, and you know, your leadership, you know, with the people that you're confident that they're buying into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing it's a team here.
Yeah.
You know, without my team, it could be no me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't, you know, focus on, hey, you do this and you do. Hopefully, I show by example.
Yeah.
There's nothing in here that I won't do that I'm gonna ask somebody else to do. You know, I started at the bottom and worked my way up to where I'm at now, and I'm only as good as my team.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That's awesome.
That's absolutely a leadership philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you'd like to tell Kansas City? Give some words, knowledge.
Hey, founded September 1st, 2015. Hopefully, you know, even after I'm gone, Serenity Memorial Chapel, you know, still thrive on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm building a company from ground up. So, like I say, it'll be something after I'm gone here, a pillar in the community. And everybody that comes into the team, you know, I can instill in them, and you know, hey, be like you say, be one of these funeral homes that you think of. You have your Watkins, your Lawrence A. Joneses, and now Serenity.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being a part of it.
I'm gonna give the address. I'm gonna give the address
Yeah,
if you
give
don't
the
mind. Serenity Memorial Chapel.
Chapel.
Is that right? I'm saying it right?
Yes.
2510 East 72nd Street. We're in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri. So, Brother Mike, I definitely appreciate you extending your time, man, and you know, just sharing some insight with us. Definitely appreciate it, man.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anytime you can, hey, just let me know and we can come, you know, hang out at Serenity.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, hopefully.